There is a truth that very few people want to hear. Every dream in life has a price. Not a price in money, but a price in discipline, time, effort, and the sacrifices you must be willing to make. You see, many people love to dream. They dream about a better life, a better career, a healthier body, a life they can be proud of. But there is something most people do not see. Every dream comes with a bill. You want success? Life will ask you a very simple question. What price are you willing to pay for it? Maybe it is the mornings when you must wake up earlier than everyone else. Maybe it is the evenings when you are still working while everyone else is resting. Maybe it is giving up comfort today to build a better future tomorrow. But this is where most people stop. They want the reward, but they do not want to pay the price. They want the result, but they do not want the process. They want the trophy, but they do not want the training. They want success, but they negotiate with discipline. And life does not work that way. There is a principle I often talk about. I call it the law of exchange. You cannot receive something valuable if you are not willing to exchange something of equal value. You exchange comfort for progress. You exchange time for skill. You exchange discipline today for freedom tomorrow. So the real question is not, how big are your dreams? The real question is, what price are you willing to pay for the life you want? And stay until the end of the video, because one of the final principles I will share is exactly what helps many people move from simply dreaming about success to actually owning it. Principle 1, every goal has a price tag. There is something I learned fairly early in my life. Every goal you set comes with a price. No exceptions. You see, human beings are very good at imagining. We can sit quietly in a small room and imagine a much bigger life, a better job, a better house, a healthier body, a larger bank account. I have done that many times. Dreams are always attractive. They are like beautiful paintings that the mind creates for us. But what very few people see is the bill lying right beneath that painting. Every goal has a price tag. You want a better career? The price might be years of learning, building skills, and accepting that you may have to start from lower positions. You want a healthy body? The price might be early mornings, workouts when you have no motivation, and disciplined choices at every meal. You want to build a business? The price might be evenings working while others are resting, financial risks, and failures that no one sees. You see, the question is not whether the price exists. The question is, are you willing to pay it? I remember the early years when I began changing my life. I met people with very big dreams. They wanted success, financial freedom, and the chance to do great things with their lives. But when life delivered the bill, they began to negotiate. They said, I want success, but I do not want to wake up early. I want to grow, but I do not want to study more. I want results, but I do not want to change my habits. And do you know what happened? Their dreams slowly turned into future regrets. Because life does not discount big goals. If you want an extraordinary life, you must be willing to pay an extraordinary price. This is where many people misunderstand success. They look at someone else's results and think that person is lucky. They think that person has special talent. They think that person had better opportunities. But what they do not see is the price that was paid long before the result appeared. The mornings no one saw. The failures no one knew about. The difficult decisions that others did not want to make. The truth is this: success is not a mystery. It is simply the bill of discipline paid every day. And when you understand this, something very interesting happens. You stop asking, how can I succeed faster? Instead, you begin asking a far more important question. What kind of person do I need to become to deserve this goal? Because every big goal requires a better version of you, a more disciplined version, a more persistent version, a version willing to pay the price that others refuse to pay. So I want to ask you a very simple question. Pause for a moment and think. What is your biggest goal right now? And the more important question, have you truly accepted its price, or are you still hoping life will offer you a cheaper deal? Remember this: life does not give you what you want. Life gives you what you are willing to pay for. And when you truly accept that price, you will be surprised to see how things begin to change. Because from that moment on, you are no longer just dreaming. You begin paying for your dream. And that is when the goal starts becoming real. But there is a deeper principle behind all of this. A principle I call the law of exchange. And if you do not understand this law, success will always feel distant. But when you understand it, everything becomes clear. Let's talk about that in the next principle. Principle 2, the law of exchange. After many years of observing life and working with thousands of people, I realized a very simple rule. But it is also a rule that many people ignore. I call it the law of exchange. Life gives you nothing for free. Every achievement in life begins with an exchange. You exchange time for skill. You exchange comfort for progress. You exchange discipline today for freedom tomorrow. That is how life works. You see, many people look at successful individuals and ask themselves, why do they have more than I do? But the real question should be, what did they exchange that I have not been willing to exchange? I have met many people who told me they want success. They want to earn more money. They want a better career. They want to become a better version of themselves. But when life asks them, what are you willing to exchange for it? They hesitate. They want the result, but not the process. They want opportunity, but not preparation. They want a better life, but not new habits. And do you know what happens? Life keeps giving them the same results. Because if you do not change what you are exchanging, you will keep receiving what you are currently receiving. I remember a young man once asked me a very interesting question. He said, Jim, how can I become successful faster? I asked him a different question. I want to know first, what are you willing to exchange? You see, that is the real question. If you want a healthy body, you must exchange the hours on the sofa for hours of training. If you want to grow intellectually, you must exchange time scrolling on your phone for time reading books. If you want to build a great career, you must exchange today's ease for tomorrow's opportunity. There are no shortcuts. Life is like a marketplace. And in that marketplace, everyone is making transactions every day. Some people exchange discipline for the future. Others exchange the future for comfort today. And after many years, those transactions begin to create a huge gap between people's lives. There is something interesting I want you to think about. Two people can start life with the same 24 hours each day. But one person chooses to exchange that time for growth. The other chooses to exchange that time for entertainment. After 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, the results of those two lives will be completely different. Not because they are different in intelligence, not because they had different opportunities, but because their exchanges were different. And that is when you begin to understand an important truth. Success is not magic. Success is the result of the right transactions repeated every day. Every day you are signing a check for your future. The question is, are you writing that check for progress or for stagnation? Pause for a moment and ask yourself, what are you exchanging every day? Are you exchanging your time for things that move you closer to your goals? Or are you exchanging it for things that keep you standing still? Because in the end, life always returns exactly what you have exchanged with it. And when you understand this rule, you begin to look at daily decisions in a completely different way. You begin to realize that every small choice is a transaction with your own future. But there is a big mistake many people make when it comes to the price of success. They believe they can delay paying that price. They say, I will start later. I will be more serious next year. I will change when things become more stable. But here is what most people do not understand. Delay does not make the price disappear. Delay only makes the price more expensive. And that is exactly what I want to talk about next. Principle 3, the cost of waiting. There is a price many people never see. It does not appear immediately. It does not arrive in an envelope. And because of that, many people think it does not exist. But I have learned that this price is one of the most expensive prices a human being can pay. I call it the cost of waiting. You see, many people do not reject their dreams. They simply delay them. They say, I will start when things are more stable. I will get serious when I have more time. I will pursue my goals when I feel ready. It sounds reasonable, right? But here is what very few people understand. Delay does not make the price of the goal disappear. It only increases that price, like a debt with interest. Every day you wait, the bill of your dream grows a little larger. Not only because time passes, but also because motivation decreases. Confidence decreases. Opportunities begin to disappear. I have met many people who told me they had a great idea, a book they wanted to write, a business they wanted to build, a life they wanted to change. But they kept telling themselves, not yet, wait a little longer, wait until things are more perfect. And do you know what happens? Those weeks become months. Those months become years. And then one day they look back and say, I once had a dream like that. Not because they were not capable, but because they waited too long to start paying the price for it. That is the danger of delay. It does not only take your time, it begins to erode your confidence. Every time you postpone something important, you send yourself a very dangerous message. The message is, maybe I am not ready. And after a while, that message turns into a belief. A belief that says, maybe I will never be ready. But here is the good news I want to share with you. The moment you start taking action, the clock of delay stops. The moment you take the first step, the price begins to go down. Because action has a very special power. Action creates momentum. Action creates confidence. Action creates new opportunities. You do not have to pay the entire price of success in one day. You only need to start paying the first installment. One small step, one small decision, one small action. And from there, everything begins to move. So, I want to ask you a very direct question. What are you delaying in your life right now? Is it a goal you know you should pursue? Is it a skill you know you need to learn? Is it a change you know you must make? If the answer is yes, I want you to remember one thing. The cost of waiting is always more expensive than the cost of action. Always. But when it comes to paying the price for success, life usually gives you two very clear choices. Two paths. Two kinds of bills. And the interesting thing is, you always get to choose how you want to pay. I want to tell you about those two choices next. Principle 4. Pay now or pay later. After many years of observing life, I realized that every goal gives you two ways to pay its price. Only two ways. There is no third way. You can pay now with discipline, or you can pay later with regret. Those are the two currencies that life accepts. When you are young, this choice is often not clear, because the price of discipline usually appears immediately, waking up early when you want to sleep more, working out when you want to rest, learning when other people are entertaining themselves, saying no to easy things in order to pursue meaningful things. Those things are not always pleasant. Sometimes they feel difficult. Sometimes they feel like you are missing out on something. But remember one thing. Discipline always has a price, but it is the cheapest price you can pay for a good life. Because when you pay now with discipline, you are buying something very valuable. You are buying freedom in the future. I have seen this happen again and again in life. The person who is willing to learn early usually has more choices later. The person who is willing to train early is usually healthier later. The person who is willing to work hard early usually has more opportunities later. Discipline is like an investment. Every small action you take today is like a deposit into the account of your future. And over time, those small deposits begin to accumulate. They accumulate into skill. They accumulate into confidence. They accumulate into opportunities that you could not see before. But now, let's talk about the second path. The path that many people choose without realizing it. The path of delaying discipline. This is when a person says, I will start later. I will be more serious next year. I will change when things are more favorable. And in the short term, that seems easier. You get to sleep more. You get to postpone. You get to keep your comfort. You get to avoid difficulties. In that moment, it seems like you have avoided the price. But life has a very accurate accounting system. If you do not pay with discipline today, you will pay with regret in the future. And the bill of regret is always bigger. I have spoken with many people at different stages of life, and I realize that successful people rarely say, I wish I had been less disciplined. But I have heard many people say, I wish I had started earlier. I wish I had been more serious. I wish I had not wasted so many years. You see, regret is a very hard bill to pay, because when it arrives, you often no longer have time to fix it. That is why I always say something very simple. The pain of discipline weighs a few ounces, but the pain of regret weighs tons. And the interesting thing is that every day you are making a choice between those two. Every morning, every decision, every habit, you are choosing discipline or regret. You are paying now or letting that bill grow bigger. So I want you to ask yourself a very important question. Are you paying for your future with discipline, or are you quietly accumulating the bill of regret? Because no matter which one you choose, that price will still be paid, sooner or later. But there is good news that I want to share with you. You do not have to pay the entire price of success in one day. In fact, life gives you a very smart option, an option that I call the installment plan of success. And that is exactly what I want to talk to you about next. Principle 5. Big goals are paid in daily installments. There is a reason many people give up on their big goals. Not because they are not capable enough, not because they lack talent, but because the price of that goal looks too big. When a person looks at a big goal, building a business, writing a book, completely changing their health, or achieving financial freedom, the number seems too high. It is like looking at the price of a very large house. And when they look at that number, they think, I cannot afford it. And so they do not even begin. But this is one of the biggest misunderstandings about success. Life rarely requires you to pay the entire price in one day. Instead, life gives you something very interesting. I call it the installment plan of success. You can pay the price of a big goal little by little each day. One small step, one small action, one small improvement. And over time, those small payments begin to add up. I remember there was a period in my life when I looked at my goals and felt overwhelmed. The distance between where I was standing and where I wanted to go seemed too great. But then I realized one simple thing. I did not have to reach the destination today. I just had to make a small payment every day. Just show up. Just do the work. Just move forward a little more. That is the power of small payments. Imagine your goal is to read 50 books in a year. That sounds like a lot. But if you read 10 pages a day, you will be surprised to see that you have finished dozens of books before the year ends. Or suppose you want to save a large amount of money. You do not need to have all of it right away. You can start with small savings each week. Over time, those small amounts begin to grow. This is what many people do not realize. Consistency is always more powerful than intensity. Anyone can work hard for 1 week. Anyone can train with extreme seriousness for 1 month. But the person who changes their life is the person who stays consistent for many years. Small daily payments begin to create what I call compound power. One good habit leads to another. One new skill leads to a new opportunity. One disciplined decision leads to a better result. And before you realize it, the distance between you and your goal begins to shrink. But there is one very important thing you need to remember. These daily payments are not glamorous. No one applauds when you read a few extra pages. No one notices when you wake up 30 minutes earlier. No one holds a ceremony when you decide to quit a bad habit. But each of those small actions is like a deposit into the bank of your future. And over time, those deposits begin to earn interest. They produce skill. They produce confidence. They produce opportunities that you could not see before. That is how big goals are really built. Not by one giant leap, but by thousands of small steps. So I want you to ask yourself one question. What small payment can you begin making today toward your goal? It might be reading 10 more pages. It might be learning one more skill. It might be spending 30 minutes improving yourself. Do not worry if that step seems small. What matters is that you do not miss the payment, because missed payments are exactly what keep many people from ever reaching their goals. Remember this. Small actions repeated every day create big results over time. But when you begin pursuing big goals, you will discover that the price of success does not include only time and effort. There are other costs. Costs that very few people talk about. Unexpected costs that many people are not prepared for. And that is exactly what I want to talk to you about next. Principle 6, the hidden fees of ambition. When you begin pursuing a big goal, you will soon discover something interesting. The price of success is not only time and effort. There are other costs. Costs that very few people talk about. I call them the hidden fees of ambition. You see, when a person begins stepping out of the ordinary, life starts to react. The first thing is usually criticism. Whenever you decide to do something different, there will always be people who ask, "Who do you think you are? Why do you have to work so much? Are you sure that will work?" Sometimes those words come from strangers, but sometimes they come from people who are very close to you, and that can make you uncomfortable. But I have learned something important. Criticism is often the price you pay for stepping out of mediocrity. People who do not pursue their dreams often feel uncomfortable when they see someone else doing it. Not because they are bad, but because it reminds them of the dreams they left behind. The second hidden fee is exhaustion. When you pursue a big goal, there will be days when you feel very excited. But there will also be days when you feel drained. Days when you ask yourself, is this worth it? Should I keep going? This is something many people misunderstand. They think exhaustion is a sign that they should stop. But many times in life, exhaustion is simply a sign that you are paying the real price of progress. The third hidden fee is doubt. Doubt has a very strange way of showing up. It usually appears in the moments when you are weakest. Maybe late at night. Maybe after a failure. Maybe after someone says your idea is unrealistic. And in those moments, one question begins to appear in your mind. Am I good enough? I have learned that almost everyone who pursues a big goal has to face that question. But successful people understand that doubt is not a signal to stop. It is just part of the journey. And then there is another hidden fee. That is unexpected failure. No one puts it in the plan. No one talks about it in success stories. But it always shows up. A project that does not succeed. A missed opportunity. A plan that does not go as expected. Those things can make many people quit. But the people who truly achieve their goals understand one thing. These hidden fees are not signs that you are on the wrong path. Many times, they are signs that you are getting closer to what you want. I remember there were periods in my life when everything seemed to go wrong at the same time. Criticism from every direction, exhaustion, failures, doubts. In those moments, quitting seemed like the cheaper option, but I learned that if you want the reward of a big goal, you must be willing to pay its full price. Not just the obvious price, but the hidden fees too. So, I want you to ask yourself a very important question. Have you prepared yourself mentally for the hidden fees of ambition? Have you prepared for criticism, for exhaustion, for doubt, for unexpected failures? Because if you prepare for those things in advance, you will not be surprised when they appear. And when they appear, you will not see them as reasons to stop. You will see them as part of the bill that every successful person has to pay. But there is a very smart way to make the price of success become smaller over time. A way to make every effort you give produce more value. A way to make future goals easier to achieve. And that is exactly what I want to talk to you about. Principle 7, self-investment multiplies your future. There is a secret that many people do not realize when it comes to the price of success. It is this: not every payment has the same value. Some payments only help you move one step forward. But there are payments that can multiply the value of all your future efforts. I call that investing in yourself. You see, when you invest in yourself, in your skills, in your mindset, in your discipline, you are not just changing your present. You begin changing all of your future opportunities. Think about this for a moment. If you spend time learning a new skill, that skill does not help you only once. It becomes an asset. From that day forward, every opportunity that requires that skill becomes easier for you. Doors that were once closed begin to open. Opportunities you did not see before begin to appear. I remember the early years when I began taking personal development seriously. I started reading books. I started listening to lectures. I started learning from people who had gone ahead of me. At first, those investments seemed small. One book, one seminar, one conversation with someone more experienced. But over time, I realized something interesting. Each new idea became a tool. Each new skill became leverage. Each disciplined habit became an advantage. And then one day I realized that the things that used to be very difficult for me began to feel natural. Not because life became easier, but because I had become stronger. That is the power of investing in yourself. When you grow yourself, you begin to change the price of your future goals. Goals that once looked very difficult begin to seem possible. Challenges that once made you anxious begin to feel exciting. Because every time you develop yourself, you are expanding your capacity. Think about discipline as an example. The first time you try to build a disciplined habit, it may be very hard. You have to remind yourself. You have to fight procrastination. You have to resist comfort. But when you practice discipline long enough, something interesting happens. Discipline begins to become your second nature. Things that used to be difficult become normal. Things that used to require great effort become natural. And from there, every new goal in your life becomes easier to achieve. The same is true for mindset. A mind trained to see opportunity instead of problems will always have an advantage. A mind used to finding solutions instead of blaming will always go farther. A mind accustomed to persistence will not give up easily. So I want you to think about this. If you have to pay the price for success, why not pay that price in a way that makes future successes easier? That is why investing in yourself is always one of the best investments you can make. One book, one new skill, one good habit, one stronger mindset. Each of those is like a small investment. But over time, those investments begin to earn interest. They produce opportunities. They produce confidence. They produce abilities that you did not have before. So I want to ask you a very important question. How much are you investing in yourself every day? Do you spend time learning? Do you spend time developing your skills? Do you spend time becoming a stronger version of yourself? Because the truth is this: the person you become will determine what you can achieve. But as you continue paying the price of success and investing in yourself, something wonderful begins to happen. You begin to harvest the first rewards. Not just money, not just achievement, but rewards that are much deeper than that. And that is exactly what I want to share with you next. Principle 8, character is the real receipt. When people think about success, they usually think about external rewards. They think about money. They think about fame. They think about achievements that other people can see. But after many years of experience and observation, I realized that the greatest rewards of success are often not external things. The greatest reward is usually the person you become in the process. You see, every time you pursue a big goal, you are not just building a result, you are building your character. Every time you choose discipline instead of ease, you are training yourself. Every time you get back up after a failure, you are becoming stronger. Every time you continue when things become difficult, you are developing something that no one can take away from you. I call that character. Character. And if you ask me what the real receipt of success is, I would say it is exactly this. Not the trophy, not the money in the bank account, but the person you became in order to achieve those things. I have met many people who have a lot of money but no confidence. I have also met people who are not materially wealthy but have something very special. They have self-respect. They know they can trust themselves. They know that if they set a goal, they have the ability to pursue it all the way through. And do you know what creates that confidence? Not other people's praise, not luck, but the promises they have kept to themselves. Every time you tell yourself that you are going to do something and you actually do it, you are building a kind of invisible asset, a kind of asset called self-trust. Trust in yourself. And when you gain that, life begins to change. You begin to dare to set bigger goals. You begin to dare to try new things. You begin to step into opportunities that you may once have been afraid of, because now you know something very important. You can trust yourself not to quit. That is why every disciplined decision in life matters, not only because of the external result, but because each of those decisions is helping build your character. I often say that success is not only what you achieve, success is what you become in the process. A more persistent person, a stronger person, a more responsible person, a person who can face difficulty without giving up easily. And the interesting thing is that when you build that kind of character, you do not just achieve one goal. You can achieve many other goals in the future. Because character is like a foundation. A strong foundation can support many different buildings. But if the foundation is weak, even great achievements can collapse. So I want you to think about a very simple question. What kind of person are the goals you are pursuing today helping you become? Are you becoming stronger? Are you becoming more disciplined? Are you becoming more reliable? Because in the end, those are the real rewards of the journey. But when you persist in paying the price of discipline, overcoming difficulties, and building your character, something very special begins to happen. Life begins to give you a reward that many people dream of, a reward that money cannot buy. I am talking about freedom, and that is exactly what I want to talk to you about next. Principle 9, freedom is the ultimate reward. When people talk about success, they usually talk about money. They talk about big houses. They talk about nice cars. They talk about titles and achievements that other people can see. But after many years of reflecting on life, I realized that the greatest reward of success is not money. The greatest reward is freedom. You see, when you are willing to pay the price of discipline, learning, effort, and persistence, you are buying yourself something very special. You are buying the right to choose. The right to choose how you live. The right to choose the work you do. The right to choose the people you want to spend time with. Many people live their lives without realizing that they are bound by the choices of the past. The habits they did not change, the skills they did not develop, the opportunities they were not brave enough to pursue, and over time, those things begin to limit their lives. They do not have many choices. They do not have much freedom. But when you pay the price of personal growth, that begins to change. You begin to develop skills. You begin to build confidence. You begin to create opportunities that did not exist before. And from there, life begins to open up. You are no longer trapped in a single path. You begin to have more paths. I have seen this happen many times. A person spends years learning and developing themselves. At first, that effort does not seem to produce many results. But over time, something interesting happens. Doors begin to open. A new opportunity, a new relationship, a new possibility. And then that person realizes that their life is no longer as limited as it once was. That is the power of freedom. Freedom is not the ability to do whatever you want. Freedom is the ability to choose your own path. And the interesting thing is that freedom is always bought with discipline. It sounds paradoxical, but it is true. The person who is disciplined in learning has freedom in their career. The person who is disciplined in finances has freedom in life. The person who is disciplined in health has freedom in their body. Meanwhile, the person who avoids discipline often loses freedom. They become bound by the consequences of easy choices. So when you think about the price of success, do not think only about the difficulties of the present. Think about the reward in the future. Think about the life you want to live. A life where you can say yes to the things that matter. A life where you can say no to the things that no longer fit. A life where you are not forced by circumstances, but guided by your purpose. That is the life that discipline can bring. So I want to ask you one final question. Are you using today to build freedom, or are you accidentally building limits for your future? Because every day you live is a payment for the life you will have later. And when you understand that, you begin to look at each day differently. You begin to look at each decision differently. You begin to realize that life is not a series of random days. It is the result of small choices repeated over time. And when you are willing to pay the price of those right choices, you will gradually build a life you are truly proud of. Because in the end, success is not only what you achieve, success is the life you are free to choose to live. Principle 10, consistency creates the real breakthrough. There is something interesting I realized after many years of observing successful people. The big turning points in their lives rarely come from one single great action. Instead, they come from small actions repeated over a long period of time. You see, many people believe that success requires one explosive moment, one big opportunity, one brilliant idea, one unexpected breakthrough. But in reality, most successful lives are built in a very different way. They are built through consistency, small actions, small decisions, small habits, repeated every day. I remember there was a time when I began taking personal growth more seriously. At that time, I did not have a perfect plan. I did not have great resources, but I decided to do one simple thing. Every day I would improve myself a little. One page of a book, one new idea, one new skill, one valuable conversation. Those things seem very small on any given day. But after a while, I realized that those small actions began to create big change. I began to think differently. I began to act differently. I began to see opportunities that I had not seen before. That is the power of consistency. One good action done only once rarely changes your life. But one good action repeated hundreds of times can completely change your future. Think about health as an example. One workout will not change your body, but hundreds of workouts will do that. One healthy meal will not change your health, but hundreds of right choices in your meals will do that. The same is true for a career. One day of hard work does not create a great career, but many years of hard work and continuous learning will do that. That is what many people overlook. They search for intensity, but what truly creates success is consistency. Anyone can work extremely hard for 1 week. Anyone can be very disciplined for 1 month. But very few people can maintain the right habits for many years. And that is what creates the gap between successful people and the rest. Because when you keep doing the right thing for a long time, you begin to build something I call momentum. And momentum is a very powerful force. At first, everything seems difficult. You have to push yourself. You have to remind yourself. You have to fight procrastination. But after a while, momentum begins to work for you. Good habits become natural. The right actions become easier. And before you realize it, your life begins moving in a completely different direction. So I want to ask you a very simple question. What small actions are you repeating every day? Are you repeating actions that help you move closer to your goals? Or are you repeating habits that keep you standing still? Because in the end, your life will reflect what you do consistently, not what you do occasionally. Remember this, success rarely comes from great moments. Success usually comes from small habits repeated long enough. But when you begin building consistency and momentum in your life, something very interesting starts to happen. The results that once seemed very far away begin to appear. The rewards that you once could only imagine begin to become reality. And that is exactly what I want to talk to you about next. Principle 11, your habits decide what you can afford. There is a very interesting truth I realized after many years of studying success. Most people think their goals are too big. They think their lives do not have enough time, not enough opportunities, not enough resources. But after talking with many people at different stages of life, I realized that the problem is usually not that the goals are too big. The problem is usually that the habits are too small. You see, every goal in life has a price, and your daily habits will determine whether you can pay that price. If your habit is procrastination, your goals will seem very far away. If your habit is discipline, your goals will seem more achievable. Think about this for a moment. Two people can have the same goal. They can want the same thing. They can start from very similar circumstances. But after a few years, their lives can be completely different. Not because the goals are different, but because their habits are different. One person spends a little time each day learning. One person spends many hours each day procrastinating. One person builds the habit of discipline. One person builds the habit of indulgence. And over time, those habits begin to create completely different results. I often say that habits are like automatic payments for your future. Every day you repeat a habit, you are sending a payment into the account of your life. If your habits are good, that account begins to grow. If your habits are bad, that account begins to decline. The interesting thing is that you do not see the results immediately. One bad habit in one day does not destroy your life. One good habit in one day also does not change your life. But over time, those small actions begin to accumulate. They accumulate into skill. They accumulate into opportunity. They accumulate into results. And then one day you look back and realize that those small habits built your entire life. That is why I always say that success is not something you do once in a while. Success is something you do every day. Successful people do not always have more motivation than others, but they often have better habits. Habits that help them move forward even when they do not feel motivated. Habits that help them continue even when things become difficult. Habits that help them stay on course even when life becomes busy. So I want you to think about a very simple question. What habits are building your future right now? Do you have habits that help you move closer to your goals? Or are you accidentally building habits that move you farther away from them? Because in the end, your life will reflect what you repeat every day, not what you wish for, not what you intend, but what you actually do regularly. Remember this, your habits today are writing the story of your life tomorrow. But when you begin building the right habits, persist in paying the price of discipline, and keep moving forward every day, you will gradually realize that life is leading you to a very special point. A point where every effort, every sacrifice, and every right decision begin to come together. And that is exactly what I want to talk to you about in the final principle. Principle 12. The price you pay today becomes the life you live tomorrow. After everything we have talked about in this video, there is one very simple truth I want you to remember. Your future life is built by the prices you are willing to pay today, not by the dreams you have, not by the plans you make, not by the things you hope will happen, but by the actions you actually take every day. You see, many people have wonderful dreams. They want success. They want freedom. They want to build a life they are truly proud of. But between dreams and reality, there is always a gap. That gap is filled by the price of discipline. Every morning you wake up and choose to do the right thing. Every time you refuse ease in order to pursue progress. Every time you keep moving forward when things become difficult. You are paying part of that price. And over time, those small payments begin to accumulate. They accumulate into skill. They accumulate into opportunity. They accumulate into results that you once could only imagine. But the most important thing is this. Those payments do not only change what you have, they change who you become. You become stronger. You become more disciplined. You become more confident. You begin to trust yourself. And when a person begins to trust themselves, their life starts to change in very deep ways. I have seen this happen many times. People who are willing to pay the price of discipline for a long time often achieve things they once thought were impossible. Not because they are more special than others, not because they are luckier, but because they accepted one simple truth. Life always requires an exchange. You cannot have big results with small effort. You cannot build an extraordinary life with ordinary choices. You must be willing to pay the price. But the good news is this. The price of discipline is often much smaller than the price of regret. The minutes you spend learning, the hours you spend developing yourself, the days you spend persistently moving forward, all of those things may feel difficult in the present, but one day you will look back and realize that they were the very decisions that changed your life. So, I want to leave you with one final question. The life you want to live in the next 5 or 10 years, what price does it require you to pay starting today? Are you ready to pay that price? Because if you are ready, you will begin to look at each day differently. You will no longer see small actions as unimportant. You will understand that each day is a payment toward your future. And as you continue making those payments with discipline, persistence, and belief in yourself, you will gradually build a life you are truly proud of. Remember this, a dream always has a price. But if you are willing to pay that price, life is always willing to give you the reward. And the greatest reward is not only success. The greatest reward is the person you become on that journey. After all the principles we have just talked about, I want you to remember one very simple thing. Life is not random. It is not a series of events happening by chance. Your life is the result of the choices you repeat every day. Every day you choose discipline or delay. Every day you choose learning or wasting time. Every day you choose to move one step forward or remain standing still. And over time, those small choices begin to create a completely different life. You see, every goal has a price. But when you are willing to pay the price of discipline, persistence, and self-development, life will begin to return worthy rewards to you. Not only success, not only opportunity, but a life you are truly proud to look back on. So I want to ask you one question before we end today's video. Out of all the principles we just talked about, which one touched you the most? Write the number of that principle in the comments. I would really love to know what is creating a shift in your thinking. And if this video helped you see more clearly the path you want to take, hit like and subscribe so you do not miss the next lessons. Because the journey of personal growth is not a moment. It is a long journey, and I am very glad that you are on that journey. Remember this: if you master today, you can master your whole life. I will see you again in the next video.